Hi guys, let's start the examination paper 2 in this video. So it's another preparation paper, so it's going to be very similar to what you'll get in your school exam. Just keep in mind that the questions have different difficulty levels, so just keep that in mind, okay? So starting with part 1, we have a difficulty level of 1. So it's actually the very basic type of questions that you'll get. So question 1. It says change 0.32 to a fraction, and you can see that the 2 is recurring. It has a dot on the top, so you know that it's a recurring decimal, isn't it? So what kind of decimal do you think that will look like? Well, it's going to be 2 that's repeating, so you should know that it's 0.32222, etc. on forever. So I'm going to let x be that number, 0.32222. So what should you do now? Well guys, this one is actually not too straightforward. You should know because of that 3. It's a little bit bothering because except for the 3, everything else is the same as 2, isn't it? So first of all, I would like to multiply by 10 on both sides to try to get rid of that 3 and move it before the decimal point. So if I multiply x by 10, you know that that's 10x. And if I multiply that by 10, you know the decimal point will move over one place, so it will be 3.2222. So now after the decimal point, we no longer have that number 3, so it's not bothering us anymore. So now what should I do? This time I'm going to multiply an extra 10 to the 10x, or you can think that I'm multiplying 100 to the first equation, the original 1x. But basically I'll just think that I'm multiplying 10 to 10x, so 10x times 10 is 100x, and this one times 10 is 32.22222. Okay, now again guys, you can see that you can compare the two equations. That's the first equation and that's the second one. You can see that after the decimal point, both of them have 22222 after the decimal point. So they have the same numbers after the decimal point, which is good because if I subtract them, if I subtract the first one from the second one, I will be able to eliminate all the numbers after the decimal point. So that will look like this. So I'm going to go 100x minus 10x and then 32.22222 minus 3.22222. So, as you can see, as I said before, the decimal place, all these will cancel out. So, you know that 100x minus 10x is 90x, and 32 minus 3 is simply 29. So what should you do next? Well, x is just 29 over 90, so that's the answer. And that's just it, guys. So we've done quite a lot of these questions in the first examination paper, so hopefully you're aware of this one. Okay, so that was question 1. Question 2, very easy question. Convert 45% to a fraction in its simplest form. Guys, I don't have to explain this really, because you should all know that 45% is the same as 45 over 100, right? So just divide by the common factor. Maybe I think we'll divide top and bottom by 5. You should get 9 on 20. You should all know that 100 divided by 5 is 20 and 45 divided by 5 is 9. Okay, how easy was that one? Question 3. The price of the computer has been discounted by 20%. If it is sold for $1,248, what was the original price? Okay, I'm going to use a bit of algebra. Hopefully all of you will probably use some algebra. Okay, using algebra will really set out your working nice and logically so your teachers can follow. So yeah, always trying to use the algebra if there's a bit of problem solving involved. So the discounted amount is 20%. So if I let x be the original price of the computer, which is what we want, right? We want the original price of the computer, so that's what I'm going to let x be. And then as I said, 20% is the discount. So if it's discounted by 20%, how much in percentage wise are you paying? Well, you're paying 80%. So 80% of the original price x is 1,248, which is the discounted price. Does that make sense? So 100 minus 20 is 80, so that's why we have 80%. So in an equation form, I can write this as 80%, which is just 0.8, times x is the $1,248. So to get x, we simply need to divide both sides by 0.8, right? So therefore this divided by that, that's what I have here. Just calculate that, guys. That's what you should have. $1,560 is the original price. Okay, so you can see that that's a little more than this because it's not discounted. Okay, it's the original one. So that was question 3, a little bit of problem solving. Question 4. Express 346 in scientific notation. Okay, well, this is not a very big number, but we'll still put in scientific notation. So remember, I always want to have the decimal in front of the first number, right? So I'm going to make it 3.5. Okay, I made it to 1 decimal place, so it's a good idea to write 1 dp to indicate that you've rounded off to 1 decimal place to your teacher. You can round it to 2 decimal places if you like, up to you. Okay, as long as you make a little note there. Okay, so I'm put it to 1 decimal place, so 3.5. You should all know why it's 5, and we're going to be multiplying by 10 to the power of 2 because, well, I put it there, but because if the decimal point is there, to go back to the original spot, I have to move 2 places to the right. So that's why it's 10 to the power of 2. Okay, just a scientific notation there. So that was question 4. Okay, question 5, express that number in scientific notation. And as you can see, there's so many zeros there, so this time scientific notation is very relevant, isn't it? So again, as I said in the previous question, we'd like to have the decimal point after the first non-zero number. Okay, so a number that's not 0, we'll put the decimal point in front of. So the first non-zero number is 8. So I'll put the decimal after 8, so there. But if I have the decimal point after that, it means 8.0, but 8.0 is the same as 8. So the decimal point is not really necessary here. But if I do put the decimal point there, how many places do I have to go back to the original spot? Well, we have to go backwards, don't we? So we have to go back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positions. So this time the scientific form will be 8 times 10 to the power of -5, because we're going back 5 places backwards, so it's -5. And that's it, guys. So that's pretty much all you need to know for this one. Okay. Very easy, isn't it? Question 6, simplify 3 root 40. Okay, now 40 is 4 times 10. And 10, we can't break that further down into square numbers. The first square number I can see is 4. So square root of 4 is 2, isn't it? So if I take 2 out, it will be, well, before we do that, I'll just show you that 4 is 2 squared, of course. So square root of 2 squared, the square and the square root and the 2 square cancels each other. So it's simply going to be 3 times 2, so the 2 just pops out to the front. So we have that, the 10 remains inside the square root sign, so it's simply going to be 6 root 10. Okay, now I know a lot of you like to use the tree form. Have a look at 40. I'll just show you how to do that if you like using this way. If you think this way is easier, of course. So first, as I said, I think I've mentioned this in the other preparation paper, but I'd like to break down 40 into its prime factors, but I'd like to put the prime factors down on the left-hand side. So I'm going to start by maybe doing it by 5. So 5 or 2 or whatever is the prime factor that's 40 is divisible by, that's fine to start off with. Doesn't matter which one. I'm just going to start off with 5. 40 divided by 5 is 8. And then I'll divide by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And then I'll divide by 2 again. 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And I can't go any further, right? So these are the prime factors. So 5 times 2 times 2 times 2 will be 40. So in this case, I'd like to make couples. So these are a couple, but nothing else. 5 is odd, 2 is odd. We can't couple them any further. So the 2 goes out the front, and 5 times 2 goes back inside because they're odd. So that's how we get 2 root 10, and then we multiply by 3 to get 6 root 10. Okay, so hopefully the tree method is all understandable as well. That was another way of doing it. Okay, so that was question 6. Question 7. Okay, there's a big expression there, and they want you to evaluate that in scientific notation, correcting to 4 significant figures. So guys, I want you to pause for a second and put that into your calculator, and try to be very, very careful when you're putting these numbers in. Okay, so take some time using your calculator and just check with my answer. If you did get it wrong or something different to mine, try again until you get it, okay? Because this requires a lot of practice using your calculator. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and you should get something like this in your calculator. If you haven't, as I said, you must try again until you get it right, okay? So that's what I got, and it wants us to put it in scientific notation and correcting to 4 significant figures. And again, 4 significant figures is different to decimal point, of course, every one of you would know. And it starts from the first non-zero number. And you should see that 4 is the first non-zero number. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is the 4 significant places. So see that 5 is the midway, so we have to round 1 up to 2. So this will become negative 4.322. And for those who are wondering why if I will go on too quickly, sorry. Remember, as I said before, I want to have the decimal point after the first non-zero number. In this case, I want to have it after 4, because that's the first non-zero number. And to go back to the original spot, which is that one there, I go back 1 decimal point, don't I? So that's why it's 10 to the power of negative 1, because it's going back, so negative, by 1 place, so 1. Okay, so therefore it's going to be negative 4 point, see how it's 3, 2, remember how we had the significant figure up to there, so it's going to be 4.32, and the 1 goes up to 2, so that's why that's that. Okay, so hopefully that's all understandable. So question 8 says, rationalize the denominator for this expression. Okay, rationalizing for you guys should be very, very simple. All we need to do is multiply the numerator and the denominator by the conjugate of that denominator. So we have to multiply the top and bottom by root 10 plus root 2. So just like that. So the conjugate, which is change the sign. So I'm just going to do that to top and bottom, and then trying to simplify my way through. So 4 times this expression, I'll just leave it like that on top. And then you should know that root 10 minus root 2 times root 10 plus root 2 is root 10 squared minus root 2 squared. Okay, I've explained this a lot in the previous examination paper. So root 10 squared is 10, root 2 squared is 2. So that's how I get that on that denominator. Now, 10 minus 2 is 8. And you can see that 4 and 8 we can cancel, can't we? Because 2 is a common factor, 4 is a common factor. So that will become 1, that will become 2. So therefore my final answer is root 10 plus root 2 over just the 2. Okay? So just want to tell you to be careful. That's all really you need to know here. Okay, that's question 8. Question 9. John spends 1/3 of his day sleeping, 1/5 of his day reading, and 1/20 of the day watching TV. What fraction of the day is left? Well, the total proportion is 1, isn't it? Total number is 1, and because these are all representing proportions. So to find the leftover proportion of the day, which should be just 1 minus all of these, isn't it? So add them all up and then subtract them from 1 is what you should get, guys. And I won't really go through how to simplify the fractions. You guys should be able to try that yourself. If you like to do it with your hand, just make a common denominator and make it into a single fraction, or else you can use a calculator if you can, okay? So you should get 125 on 300. I would like you guys to just pause a little bit and check on the calculation just before you continue. And just make sure you get this. Or you can simplify this further to 5 on 12. Okay, so 5 on 12 should be your final answer. And I don't think I really need to go through the simplification as well, right? So just spend a little time on your own doing those. But otherwise, this is the key point here, okay? Subtracting all of those proportions from 1. Alright, so that was question 9, and that concludes part 1.